see, good to be. It is DillyDave here hanging out with Sam for the 49th episode of the Vibe Union podcast.
Yeah.
We are one step away from the 50. Not a lot of people make it this way. We've got some people coming in hopefully to fix all the problems in our lives.
Yes.
But that's going to happen outside of the actual angle.
Frame, yep.
Sam, thank you so much for joining us today. Cheers.
Cheers, Dilly. Thanks a lot for having me.
Most welcome, super welcome. So before we really get into it and people kind of, know who the hell you are, maybe they already do. There is a bit of mystery behind you and your character at the moment, but before we get into it, it's good to acknowledge the sacred ground that we're recording on today. So Vibe Union records and produces this podcast on the land of the Bruinering and the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. They were the traditional custodians of this land, not owners. So it's good to remember, keep that in mind that they didn't own this land. They were custodians. They kept this land in a sense. They tended to it. It's also good to acknowledge the elders, past, present, and emerging, and also note that sovereignty was never ceded and history was deleted. And Jason just put a little bit of a chair to my tushy. Jason, the MC of Talking Blue. Sam, we've done it. We've gotten past that initial section. This is kind of chaotic, but I definitely feel like we can hold tension and focus. So,
I'm trying really hard, Dill. Yes.
Sam, a quick vibe check.
Yeah.
Before I tell before you kind of tell us how you're feeling, we're with Sam today, who is a poet, and the light is about to shine strongly upon him because we're here at Talking Blue at Blue Bar. Vibe check. How are we doing today?
I'm pretty good. I'm in the crosshairs of my own decisions.
Yes.
Let's say. And I'm not even trying to be poetic or up myself. Everything's like coming back to life, touch wood, it continues, but like everything is starting again all at once, which is exciting, but it's like, and I don't know which one I'm really to let like fall to the wayside yet, and what it actually definitely do not forget, priority one. Right. I'm going to find out, and I'm probably going to piss off some people in the meantime. So Dilly, I'm sorry for being a little bit late today. But no.
Look, it's fine. You're forgiven.
Yeah.
Please. Absolutely forgiven.
It's on camera. Yeah, we're mates. Let's do it.
It's all about transparency. So today we're here at Blue Bar for another session of Talking Blue, which is how we met you in the first place. So before we go into maybe your first time here at Talking Blue, tell us a bit about, maybe give us a little bit of an idea of what you were doing before you came to the first Talking Blue, and maybe a bit of an idea of who you are.
Ooh, all right, There's a lot of who I am before Talking Blue. So
yes.
Maybe a short origin story.
Short origin.
Sam, where to begin? Somewhat typical Southeast Melbourne suburban kid.
Okay.
At least the first half. Footy mad.
Yeah.
All right in school.
Yeah.
This and that. Mad for footy. Then got into music. Typical, without the romance, but like a high school, just the talent show, like the year 8 talent show where the kid with the guitar blows your mind. That happens. So I got into music that way. Played in bands. Wrote lyrics to talk about my angry, pent up teenage boy feelings. Never shared them.
Yeah, embracing the angst.
Yeah. Did a lot of that. 1920 started putting that into solo music.
1920?
19 to 20 years old.
20.
Yeah. That becoming a man thing.
Yeah.
Started vocalizing my internal struggles, so to speak.
Not so much the angst, but everything else that was going on around that.
Oh, definitely the angst.
Definitely the angst. You're leading with the angst.
You'll find that all of those songs are very hard to find on the internet.
Yeah.
They're in the archive somewhere.
Yeah.
God forbid. But gave it a whirl back then, went overseas for a while, came back, bit of boom, bit of bap, lots to write about.
Yeah.
Lo and behold, 2 years, the world's on fire, lots of time to write. Well, kept life going, but writing was a really good vessel, and a muscle I had at least used before. Had a lot to write about, what was going on, what had happened prior, did a lot of that. My old mate Mashud let word go that poetry thing And it's been a year. It's a year this week, right?
A year next one. I think it's next one. Yeah.
It's very nearly almost a year
Right.
of Talking Blues now. Fortnightly poetry open mics.
Yeah.
We went online. We did everything.
You did.
So this has been great, and it was really right there when I needed it. It got me back on the stage. I've been out of performance for a number of years, not even playing music, but I haven't stripped it all the way back to just words ever before Talking Blue, and it's been really empowering, really important. Incredible community, yourself and everyone else in the game.
Yeah.
I've been very lucky.
Cool. All right. So you came in through Mashud, through MQ.
Yeah.
Cool. Shout outs. What was the first Talking Blue for you? Was that an online event or was that face to face first?
Face to face.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I would have been one of the early ones.
Yeah.
Would have been one of the early ones because we would have come out of a lockdown like, oh my god, this sounds really exciting. Let's do something.
Let's do anything.
Let's do anything.
Yeah.
Let's talk about my feelings in front of people, strangers. Oh my
I would
god.
would never move in that area before, but now, I mean, what the hell? What the heck?
Yeah. And it was an in-person one. When we went online, I held out for a while. I didn't do any onlines for a couple months.
Yeah.
But yeah, come winter, the deep dark depths of winter, I joined in, and I didn't look back. I really should have. I never should have left, but you took me back into the fold.
We did. We always have our arms open for the likes of yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, what was like the preparation and the feeling before bringing your poetry to the first session? Was this the first time you delivered poetry to people in a public setting before?
Now that I think about it, I hadn't. A handful of times I'd done poetry.
Yeah.
Like straight poetry. I played guitar in groups heaps of times, but that's completely different to your own words. And it's even different to do words without melody or without beat. You know, not that I'm a great singer, but it's a different tool set and it's a different offer.
Yeah, you fall into this different pattern.
Exactly.
It's kind of like already established.
Yeah. Words for me is very, very. There's nowhere to hide, and I love that about it.
Yeah.
I'd done it a handful of times, but not for a while.
Cool. Beautiful. And what was the first Talking Blues session for you like? Was it what you expected it to be? Because I almost kind of forget, I mean, a year ago is a while, I almost forget like the setting, the feeling, like what that was. What was the first impression?
I reckon, like you, not accounting for time, but more accounting for nerves, in that when you're nervous or you're really in the moment about something, you don't remember the specifics of it. It can be sport event, it can be art performance thing. You don't really remember it, right? Sometimes, and it goes this way or that way. But I remember the feeling afterwards. I remember the feeling after going on, the nights wrapping up and being like, holy shit, where has this been?
Right.
You know, I know Mashud and I knew a few others around. I knew Georgia from way back. I know these are great people. I hadn't seen them in a while. I hadn't done the word thing. And I remember like the elation of sharing, of finding like-minded people in a room that holds it and being like, fuck yeah, this is shit hot. I remember that feeling really well.
Right, so it crystallized there in your memory, and that obviously encouraged you to keep on coming back.
Mm-hmm.
And you've been, one of our most consistent, poets or artists or people who have come back for that, I guess, chasing the dragon of that feeling, right? Because it is quite the dragon, isn't it?
That's like above participant. That's like the Clubman Award, most consistent. Right? I'll take that.
Sorry we didn't get you a little ribbon or anything.
Yeah, well, next time. And it's got to be blue.
Yeah,
For me, it's part of process, and I got lucky to travel before shit hit the fan, and I had things to write about, and when shit was hitting the fan, I had things to write about. It's part of me and how I go through the journey, and getting up in a room like this is the one right now, a room where I can almost like, I'm workshopping live, and you'll see me like down there, I'm scribbling and editing right before I go up. And for me, there will be a time when I do a feature set and I come prepared and I know what I'm doing and it's a performance piece. Right. That will I haven't done that yet.
As opposed to a semi-organized surrender to a moment.
This is the word. I say word. I call it word sparring.
Yeah.
Right. Like like martial arts sparring is when you're really testing it out with a partner. I'm word sparring here. Is what I call it to myself. And if I don't do this, if I'm only at home in front of the screen or with the paper thinking, oh, this looks great. If I don't get the live feedback, either live on stage from the room, or even it looks different on the page when you're about to go and read it. Right?
Yeah.
It looks so different because what is trite shows straight away. It's almost like a UV light. You're like, that's just ego. That's just contrite.
The tone comes through when you vocalize
exactly right.
it.
Yeah, particularly when you know you've got to go in front of people. So it's so important to my process. If I didn't have this, I would finish and publish and put out something that is just full of that stuff that's got to get cut, and I would miss it completely, or it would take me like 6 months of revisiting the page later and later and later. Like this is it's like time just goes 10, 20 times faster I'm reading a Talking Blue tomorrow, this is the piece I'm going to prepare, then I get it here, I've got that 10, 20 minutes before I go on stage, shit, this is good, that's bad, that's got to go, blah, 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 and then I'm on stage and this work, that didn't, blah, blah, blah. That, if I didn't have this window, and this is a particularly good room, there are poetry rooms, I've been to others that are a little bit poetry, and it's not, you don't feel as welcomed to work in front of people, right? Like we're all workers here, you're a writer, Matt, everyone here is a writer, and I know there is a performance thing to it, and I can't wait to get it all ready and do that. But live workshop room is so valuable as part of my process. Wouldn't be anywhere without it.
I love the reflection that this space or this opportunity or this night is like a live editing room, and I think that there's some misconceptions around coming to a night like this, a spoken word night, being fully equipped with this fully formed thing that's definitely ready to go and this is it and this is all it'll ever be, instead of being like, well, let's I've got some material here, let's run it, let's run the live simulation of what in this piece works and get a gauge of audience, of tone, how it comes across, because you're probably just as aware of the tone and how it comes across as the audience, and the audience may not tell you that it comes across as trite or contrived or whatever it is, but you're going to know in that moment. And I think it's interesting that a night like this can be seen as a workshopping opportunity, because I don't think that's how most people perceive a spoken word night. It's like, I've got a piece, I come to perform the piece, it's a performance, and whether they like it or not, that's it.
What is again so great about this night is that's what it is to me most of the time. But it's not only open mic, anyone can sign up and do it, but it's almost open to interpretation as well. Like you can, and I have once or twice I've been like, I've finished something and been like, this is fucking, I'm going to do it without the pages. There's once or twice I've had one ready. I haven't had 20 minutes ready, but I've had 5 minutes ready to perform, right? Yeah. And that week I've performed. And there's other weeks it's fresh off. I wrote it down that day, or everyone comes up with their books. I've got a process with a little bit of edit beforehand, but it's open mic, sign up, but it's also open to interpretation. Yeah. Do it wherever you're at,
however it serves you,
and it's even better for awesome we're all back in rooms, but it's better for the cross-pollination, not only of ideas and words, but also methods. We're all at different parts of our process when we get here, right? Yes. Someone's got something, their work, it's ready to go, or someone's got something fresh, and we get that here. Not every room's as open to interpretation as that.
Agreed.
And this one's really, really important because of it.
Yeah, it is. I like that. The room, the night, the open mic, spoken word, whatever, is open to interpretation. There isn't these limitations that are being put on people to act or perform in a particular way, which means it makes it more accessible. Which means that people like you and myself, because I feel a little bit similar to you in the sense of like, this is a place where I can run stuff, where I can figure out cadence, flow, also timing, all these things. You know, sometimes I perform pieces that are raps, you know, that are like songs, and I can just take a verse out, completely change the timing, the cadence, and have it come across as a completely different experience, or I can reflect on it and actually rewrite because of what has occurred out of that. And it's a very refreshing experience. But I want to go back to a little bit before when you're talking about how this is almost this time capsule moment, like leading up to going up on stage and doing it, and afterwards, and like how memory and how the recollection of that moment is a bit blurred and warped and a bit interesting, you know, a bit different. Like it's hard to, you know, clearly remember. And I guess my question for that is that because you're kind of dipping into this flow state type scenario where you've practiced this thing or you've engaged with this thing to the point where you can lean into it or surrender to it, and then it kind of takes its course and you don't have to be as conscious in the moment? Is that kind of what happens to you? Are you engaging with a bit of a flow state during your performances, like maybe you would on the football field, where you're just kind of like on the fly making kind of creative decisions in the moment because you've got this skill set behind you?
All right, I've got 3 things to say there. We'll try and do them chronologically in the way they were presented.
If you need to write anything down.
No, I'm good. I've got 3 fingers.
You're good.
I should be good. All right. So in the before going on stage, there's something that's not like, it's not the perfectionist inner critic that's actually not helpful, because there's that like, oh, don't do anything, or it's all trash.
Because that fucks with your confidence.
Exactly. It's not that critic, right?
Yeah.
It's something that's just hyper aware of output in environment.
It's reading the room.
Yeah, well, it's really...
Maybe a bit of that.
It's a little bit of that,
yeah.
But it's also, it's just different. You know, at least when I'm writing, I'm either private in public, I'll be in a cafe with the headphones on my own vibe, and I'm kind of people watching, but I'm kind of not.
Yeah.
Or I'm doing it at home, in private. You know?
Yeah.
Like that's where the writing gets done for me. It's part of the process, but right before taking it on stage, there's a different voice that isn't like the child that just wants to believe where it wants to go, like the benevolent narrator that just rolls with it, right? Because you've got to roll till it's on the page.
Yeah.
Then there's the good editor, let's call it, the good editor, which is not the hypercritical perfectionist. It's all because I hear him as well, but you got to tune that one out.
Yeah.
But like it's like good editor, he's there if you've got a couple of days and you come back to it every day, whatever the hell. But he just goes into like double, triple, quadruple time for me in the 10-20 minutes before I go on stage.
It's
right?
like
if I'm workshopping a piece, right?
Right.
The times when the piece is prepared, I'm not doing that. But to condense, equipped to get that good editor mind frame or skill set working at a high rate, I just know to bring it here half ready, and I'll be like, and I'm listening to some others,
Right.
For anyone that goes on right before me, I don't catch all of what you're saying, but that's just me and my problem, my process.
And he comes across as a real asshole, very uninterested about
exactly
everyone
right,
else's
exactly
work.
right,
It's
exactly.
a problem. We've talked about it before.
But
Far from the truth.
that's what I've got to say about the before.
Yep.
Right? It's this going 4th, 5th, 6th gear, good editor, good editing mode.
So like the awareness of the editor has kind of just been turned up a bunch.
Yeah. The remembering of moments in performance. What did I want to say about that? I didn't want to call it exactly flow because flow takes work, right? And I haven't often done the work to get that. So I don't want to tell you every time I forget about the performance,
right.
I'm in flow. No, not the case at all.
Right.
But there's a straight up nervous energy thing that two or three of the most important things stand out. Whether it's like you said, a sport performance, or this performance, or that performance, getting to the flow, that is. I read a great book about it. There's a book called Grit by Angelina Duckworth, I think.
Okay.
Grit, and it's grit. Flow is on the far side of lots and lots and lots of smart, hard practice and consistency as well. You got to know the routine and set yourself up for that. So I wanted to say about flow. I've experienced the most flow in recent history in that home alone writing thing. Like 2020, 21, I got into a state. Like 2020, I had this full-time job, and the world was on fire, and I had my 2 years away to unpack, let alone write about what was going on, and I knew my work hours, I knew I had the routine in place just enough, and I had my me time at the end of the day after a really, really, really hot shower. So like the whole, you get a physical release from that, and you're mentally disconnected from the logistics of your day, and then it's just, and I had a couple of, I've got lots of bits and bobs and all my pieces that will be good finished works that I can present to the world came in like 2 months at the start of like March, April, when shit first hit the fan.
Yeah.
June, July, when we went for like the first real long lockdown, I got into flow consistently a couple times through both of those years.
Right.
And actually putting it together consistently on stage is something I haven't got to yet.
Right.
But again, it's just a different part of the process, you know, and I look forward to that. I really want to get that rolling because it's only now becoming possible to be consistent.
Right. Well, even I mean, is once a fortnight enough to build that consistency? Because you would have to be practicing the same thing.
Not for me.
Right.
Not for me.
So
like this is, I'm keeping a finger in the pie right now, and like I said, footy's come back into my life in a funny way.
Yeah.
I'm really happy about that, but everything's come back right now. But at the same time, and I'm not complaining or whinging, but logistics brain Sam is still seeing either friends get turned offline for a week at a time if they catch a spicy cough, which I'm not like sure that's the law, and let's keep it from getting put out of hand, whatever. Yeah. But I'm still seeing friends go down, and I'm still seeing gigs and all this hard work still getting called off 2 years ago. Right? So I'm like, and on the other hand, community sport, outdoors community sport, almost gets a press because it's outside. Yeah. We're not on the level where we're putting on outdoor events on a weekly basis, right?
Yeah, you got to speak for it to the public.
Well, but also the arts, the grassroots arts is typically indoors. Fair statement?
Fair statement.
So it's more likely to run into these roadblocks, and even if I'm just once burnt, twice shy, I can't wait to give it a proper crack, consistent performance a little later this year.
Cool. Are you experiencing a bit of the flow state on the footy field? Is that where you feel like you're close to engaging
About
with it
half
there?
my life ago, yes.
Right.
Half my life ago, I was a gun. It's been fun to look at football like through. There's like I've got like a rose-tinted monocle. Right? Like,
singular.
I'm tapping into all that childhood stuff. And
right.
Like that kid had a lot of fun playing football.
Right.
A lot of fun. But it's also different as a somewhat semi-adult. Your brain works different. YouTube is not what it was back then. Like if you know where to look through the bullshit and find really good information on strength and conditioning, sport-specific training, recovery, you can do things you can do incredible stuff. You can make incredible adaptations really fast. Almost like I was just saying about the half-baked pieces I bring to spoken word. They go through rapid adaptations, right? They become much better, much faster because of the pressure cooker, right? Same thing can happen if you know where to look and you've been on the internet for a while and you can, at least you think you can like sniff snake oil.
Yeah.
So it's fun like that, and I haven't got flow in front of people or crowd performance, not really yet.
Okay.
But I feel it in my body.
Yeah.
And like it's fun because I have to walk a lot even when I'm writing, whatever, but it's a mental flow state. When we're talking typically about flow state in poetry world, it's typically a mental flow, but there is a physical flow as well.
Yeah, agreed.
Right?
Agreed.
And I'm feeling that just in little flashes, and that's fun.
Right. But you acknowledge that when you were younger, you were probably in and out of those.
Yes, and for the very same reasons. There was complete consistency around primary school hours, and I, absolutely absorbed in sport almost every day of the week.
Right.
Lived and breathed.
Yeah.
Jack in the pack at lunchtime, and la-di-da.
Do you think there's any misconceptions around flow states from people who think that they might be easier to achieve and might not identify the strong mental grooves that you have to cement into your mind for that trickle to happen?
Yeah, two things real quick. One, and in flow state, we've spoken about it expressed in a more mental capacity in terms of writing and stuff, and a more physical capacity in terms of playing footy. But it's really the same bloody thing. If your brain's going but your fingers aren't typing, or your dictaphone's not on, you're going to lose the record of that flow state, and it's gone. You need some physical capacity, even when it's a right thing. Ditto football. Like, you can be charged, but if your brain's not tracking the ball or where you're pointing, it's one flow state. Is what I want to say. Right? It's not actually. It's expressed in a different environment. Yeah, but it is the same thing.
The brain mechanics behind it are the same, whether it's on the stage or on the field, right?
Yeah, it's always a blend. You know? We never leave our bodies, we never leave our minds. So it's really one flow.
Yeah, it is an embodied thing to do.
Yes.
Right.
The other one, what was it? What was the next thing you said? I had something good to say. What did you say, Dilly?
I said, do you think there's some misconceptions?
Yes. Yeah. I think we got to be very careful. Not careful. I think we got to use. Again, Grit. This book, Grit. Angelina, one of them, Duckworth. Grit. Good book. Great book. Real takes a scientific psychologist. She's a trained psych.
Yeah.
Approach to the study formation of flow state, right? And she does a great job of defining terminology and sticking to it through the whole book.
Right.
So like flow is the end product of all those hours of effort and all that showing up, and you don't always get it, but you know. But I think a lot of people think flow, which is almost a byproduct of all the effort and preparation, as Angela defines it in her book, and that's the model I use. People can confuse the very first step for the flow. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm starting, I'm in flow. You know what I mean? Right. And I'm not knocking on it, because I do that. There's a different word for that, right? It's called starting or showing up.
Or something.
Momentum, you know, like there's different terms for it. And until you know, until you've gone through it a couple hundred times, but yeah, like flow is not the beginning thing.
It's not doing the thing. It's not even doing the thing well. It's doing the thing and getting with like, I guess, well.
And I'm not telling anyone, hey, you've just started. Shame on you. You're not there yet. No. But what I was trying to say is, particularly in arty-farty world, like the more we can bed down terminology, that really helps us at least know what we're talking to each other.
Yeah, right? which is why I think which is probably why I asked the question in the first place. Like, we do use flow in a loose term, and I think it's actually a lot more, fleeting or hard to grasp than people may actually think. Which is why, I would ask somebody like you, who I think is good at improvising or being maybe fluid in what they're doing while you're presenting your poetry, might not necessarily, like, you don't think you're engaging in this flow state, you're just improvising and being a bit more malleable with your delivery.
I really like fluid, like you just said. Yeah. And I hadn't, that's probably the word I'll use from now, because I come with these half-baked potatoes, put them in like a pressure cooker before I go on, then I get up and there's a musician sometimes and I'm playing off that. And I think there's a lot to be said for being socialized. Like I got really fucking lucky with, I think, a great family, a pretty damn good neighborhood.
Right.
And I got to go out and like open my horizons before I got to go.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot to be said for being, not being capable around people, whether it's 1-to-1, 10-to-1, 100-to-1, however many in the crowd, it's still just a social engagement.
It is.
Right? So in a way, I'm playing off that. It's a fluid exchange.
And you're saying you're thankful and grateful for being socialized in such a way, and also being maybe educated in such a way where, your capability kind of comes, transforms into confidence and high levels of engagement, being open, being able to carry yourself in a particular way, and, having, the confidence to go forth with the thing. I'm lucky that I'm in this society at this time, and
opportunities for a vocal or somewhat expressive person to express themselves in a positive space. Is, you know, like I could be in an oppressive regime, and someone with my nature, brought up with my nurture, could just be pushed into the fucking
shut
ground.
down.
You know, so
you're right. The fact that, you know, we're here at the right time at the right place, what we're doing is highly encouraged, and there's not really, I mean, there's nobody that tells me to not do what I'm doing.
Yeah. So we're very lucky when you zoom out like that.
Okay, I feel like we're getting close to maybe the tail end of this podcast, but a few other things I'd like to explore with you, Sam. And this has been a wondrous chat so far. I like where we've been digging. When it comes to poetry, do you think it's something that is accessible for many and most, and suits many and most people? Do you think that you know, there's some limitations in terms of it only appeals to certain personalities or characters, or do you think that it is a practice or a thing that many and most people can dabble with, have some time with, and get something out of?
I think poetry at its... I haven't checked the dictionary recently, but I'd imagine because it can be spoken, it can be written, it's almost just our using the language we speak, because it's either English language poetry or mixed or Spanish, whatever. It's just as close to raw record of feeling.
Raw record of feeling, like that.
Right? Like it's not abstracted too far. I'm in love with this, or this was a strange day. It's pretty much a pretty hard to pen to dictaphone record art form, right? That's it. And every person feels things.
Yeah.
All of us speak some kind of language, which through the filter, not all of us write everything down, but that's the job of the storytellers and the writers and the scripters. So in a fundamental way, poetry is accessible to absolutely everyone. We all feel and we all use language to communicate. Right?
Yes.
And we all know what a record is.
And we all have experience.
Now, not everyone wants to get on stage and share their feelings. Not everyone wants to come to a night. But on the other hand, great writing underpins everything else that we all go and do. You know, very few people remember, and not just because I'm moving in the football world right now, but no one really remembers all the stats and the numbers, the exact minutes of that disposal of a footy match, but they'll remember the incredible story of this comeback from injury, which is just another story. This come from behind underdog team that came out of nowhere. There's stories over in that world, and even the footy guys, and I'm one of them, and I love them to bits, who would never come to a poetry night, all tell stories in their own little world about the local club they pay for, the team they've supported since childhood. It's all storytelling at the end of the day. It's all marketing, even somewhat history, when history is written by the victors. We all tell stories to ourselves, to each other. A lot of people go to music festivals to listen to songs. Not everyone comes to a poetry night, but you add rhythm, melody, beat to a poem, you're not far away from that stage. So it's very fundamental.
Yes.
That's why it's so valuable to me as part of my process to bring words here, polish them up, and eventually look forward to getting them back on that stage. Boom.
Cool. I like that. That's full 360. What words would you give somebody who's who's apprehensive, who has an inclination, kind of wants to do it or engage with it, with poetry, for example, has maybe written some stuff and is in the direction of presenting it, but is apprehensive about doing that? Is there any ideas, tips, thoughts that you would give that person as some form of gentle encouragement?
If you're in Melbourne, come to Talking Blue, and that's not a spruik, it's a great community of people that will get around you. Surround yourself with it, in whatever way, shape or form. Whether if you've got a local event you can go to, and it's ours or another, join poetry this and that subreddits, follow a couple of people online that do the things you like to do. There's book clubs built around it. One of my personal favourites is David White, with a Y. He's a written spoken word poet. You can follow him through an app, or you can follow him on. Does incredible stuff, you know. And back when I was really getting into it, 2020, I was listening to a lot of him. You can surround yourself with the environment you would like to be in, or at least imagine. It helps you make the changes. You know,
Right,
if you're just, woe is me, I want to make this change, but no one. Yeah, we know. You know, your parents don't understand you. Your friend, you know, no one at work wants to talk about your poetry. Sure, but you can make your own little bubble where it is important. You know.
Yes.
So nurture that little space. That's a blessing of current times for sure.
I love that. Cultivate a space where you can eventually feel comfortable doing it. Sweet. Sam, do you publish any of your stuff anywhere on any platforms at the moment?
Not really. That's about to change.
Yep.
It's about to change. I bring poems here to work on them. I'm working. They will be a book.
Yep.
The book is happening this year in some capacity.
Excellent.
That's going to happen. Website's coming along. Did you know we get .au like next week? Like DillyDave.au, not .com.au, .au.
That's beautiful. That's a beautiful thing.
So I'm gonna grab one of them and start putting things up there.
Yeah.
I'm deliberately a little bit in the shadows, just because I come here and this is part of the almost not behind the scenes. It's semi-open, right?
Yeah.
When I want to make noise, you're not going to be able to fucking get rid of me. Trust me, you'll be sick of me. All right.
I've no doubt in that.
No doubt at all.
No doubt at all.
But yeah, it's the next couple of months. I've got one or two written pieces that'll come up, and then second half of the year, I don't know what, but it's going to come out.
It's going to happen. Amazing. You're going to heart explode on all of us. And you're doing a bit of music as well at the same time. So will both of those things kind of come live online around the same time?
Yeah, I want to find a way to upcycle the same words. Maybe there's a few different reasons between having just music gear in storage or at the time when I really need to express, I was more in words than I was in instruments, you know?
Yeah.
And maybe it was just a time and place thing, but the words I use here have a value to give just as words, but also in service, upcycled over into music song of some description. Hoyt, who does the violin here, we put a little trio together. I played a sing-song gig the other week in Collingwood. Really want to bring that back again. I've got electronic sketches to put together. It's about, between here and there, I've got to find a new routine for that music performance flow. You know, I haven't had that maybe ever as a frontman. You know, as a guitar player in bands long ago, I could handle my own doing my thing in my band.
Right.
I never got to that consistent flow as a frontman speaking my words, solo or in front of group. So that's something to cultivate this year. At which point you can read maybe the long form poem is online, maybe it's split up into Instagram posts, and the song has a radio edit, or it's got a long live jam sent from the jam room. I don't know. I really am interested, not for the sake only of content creation and strategy, but here's the core thing I wanted to say, put down in the language as raw as possible. How many ways can I tell that same story? You know, just music, add video, picture, collab. I don't know if it's just going to be this is the poem, this is the song. I like the fluidity. I like the idea of fluidity around it.
Well, obviously the ideas and the themes are going to overlap, and you may as well make the most of that space because you have all the skills.
And we're all a bit more multimedia artists nowadays. You know, like 15 years ago, you didn't know how to do this. You didn't know how to run photos, videos. We could be a little bit more. This is my discipline.
Totally.
There's definitely a lot more blurring of the boundaries now. So if I've got capacity to play in that space, I'll find a way.
I love that. So that's exciting that you've got some projects and some things that you're pulling yourself towards. I guess as soon as that emerges, Vibe Union is going to be the first to start pushing that and letting that be seen.
Priority exclusive. I just want, because I listen to a lot of podcasts, and like every podcast, everyone that knows what they're doing, or every guest that comes on, has like, this is the thing, it's coming out then, you can get it here, here, and here. And I'm noticing just now that I'm full of all the energy, but I've got none of those things lined up, which is great.
Yeah, which is great.
samciv.au or civa.au, I don't know, I'm going to figure it out just Follow Vibe Union. It'll be around in the not too distant future.
You follow us, we'll provide you all the links. Sam, thank you again so much for coming on board. This has been a great chat. We always have great chats, both on and off camera. It's mainly been off the record so far, but it's good to finally have something on the record. Thanks again. A pleasure for having you on. Are there any final words that you'd like to tell the people of Vibe Union? Any departing words?
Double thumbs emoji.
Double thumbs.
We're getting very Web3.
I love it.
No, you're all great. And everyone that's shown up so far in whatever capacity, it's been a pleasure. Anyone, come one, come all to this event, to State of Oscillation, to Milky Bar's Voice Man. What's it called?
It's the Space Rap Rodeo with this Sky Daddy and Milky Bar Kid. Yep, that's coming. Anyway, vibeunion.com.au. You'll get everything you need, events, etc.
Yeah.
Sam, thank you.
Thanks,
Much
Dilly.
love. Until next time. Peace.